Welcome to the first episode of Shut Up and Talk to Me, the podcast about all things American culture, because we were too indecisive to pick one specific thing.
That's exactly it. My name's Chris.
And my name's Dan.
And we're just going to talk about random stuff and hope that you enjoy it. And it's going to be whatever's on our mind. So this is the first episode.
It is. And
we're hoping that that's not a giant train wreck.
It will be.
But it will be. So enjoy and follow along with us.
Let's follow along. Yeah, so we're going to start with Pokemon Go. Because
that's what's big right now.
That is big right now. I talked to people earlier today that have no anything about games. They don't know anything. They don't play games. And they specifically looked at me and brought up Pokemon Go.
Okay, let me just say that's mind-boggling, by the way. Like, it's 2016, you should know something about video games, at least a little bit.
Well, okay.
But even I don't know what's going on with, like, the PS4 and the Xbox One and, like, new PC shit, because I'm only playing stuff on, like, my mobile tablet right now.
Yeah, okay, well, so, like, I mean, okay, I was exaggerating then. Way to call me! 5
right
seconds
away
in,
on the first one.
On 80% of how I talk.
to.
But yes, I was exaggerating, because, yeah, everybody knows something about video games. Or, like, it's like mobile, because a ton of people do mobile.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like... But anyways, Pokemon Go. You actually play it, I don't.
I do play it, yeah.
So, for all 6 people that don't play Pokemon Go...
Right.
Could you do, like, a quick breakdown? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, so basically Pokemon Go is an augmented reality game. And it's a little new to our culture, or to gaming. I turn the augmented reality function off, which basically just has your camera active when you play, and the whole goal is to catch Pokemon. You know, catch them all like we were supposed to do when we were in 6th grade.
It hasn't evolved. It's been 20 years.
It has not evolved. It's actually
but...
this game has devolved.
Oh, okay, good.
So it's much simpler. You really just the whole point right now is to catch Pokemon, and make them as strong as you can by evolving them. And then taking over gyms that are at like local landmarks or parks, things of that nature.
Okay. So, and when you like, how do you go about catching Pokemon? It's
the most simple thing. Like, so basically, you just walk around, and your whole goal when you're walking around is to. I mean, you can look for specific Pokemon. Okay, so you do have a little meter on the bottom right of your device. That shows what Pokemon are in your area, and you can go towards them, but we really got no tutorial for this damn game, so we have no idea how this meter works, whether it's just a hot and cold thing, or if it's you go 40 feet, or 80 feet, or 120 feet to get to this Pokemon. We have no idea how this works. We're just winging it, all of us. All, like, 900 million of us are just winging it right now. We really are.
You're all collectively walking around with like divining rods, just like there's water over here. Like
yeah, and I mean there is some really cool functions, like just the fact that you mentioned water. So if you go near like a water source, you're gonna find a water type Pokemon, which is kind of cool. But you're also still gonna find, all the others everywhere else as well. So the basic idea is you find a Pokemon, you tap it on your phone. You generally have an amount of time before it goes away.
Okay.
And then you just use your finger to slide it up the center of your device and try and catch that Pokemon. And it can escape like the old games. And there is apparently Super Balls and like Mega Balls or whatever they were called.
Okay, yeah. So
for the legendary and rare ones that I don't think anyone has really seen yet.
Or if you just really want to catch like Pidgeot.
Yeah, if you really want to make sure that motherfucker is down, like, and he only has like 10 combat points, yeah, you can totally waste a Mega Ball on that. But I haven't even seen one yet, and I think they're unlocked at certain levels.
Okay, so is there levels like player levels? Are there player levels?
Yeah, it's a player level, so you gain experience each time you catch a Pokemon. If you catch a new one that you haven't had before, that gets added to your Pokedex or whatever, you get extra experience for that.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's incentive to play, and there honestly is incentive to get off your ass and walk around. And, I mean, I talked to you last night, and I was literally at the park at like 11 p.m., and I don't recommend this for anyone, but I did find like 5 other people there that were playing, and I don't recommend it because, I mean,
You don't hang out in dark parks?
Yeah, like the park was literally dark as shit. I sent you a picture and you were like, this is blurry blackness. And I was like, yeah, totally.
Did you see that picture? It's like one little light bulb and just darkness.
yeah. It's a great picture, by the way. But yeah, so it was really cool though, because you have gyms, and that's the whole goal. Is you want to capture gyms for your team. Once you hit level 5, you get to pick between 3 teams. Okay. So while I was at the park, I saw the gym go yellow, and that's my team. So I was like, sweet, someone here is on my team. They just turned it yellow. I don't got to worry about it. I can just walk around and catch Pokemon, right?
Somebody did all the work. I can just benefit from it.
Exactly. That's how my life works in general. And so once it was yellow, I walked around for like 2 more minutes and it went red. And I'm like, how many people are... And there was literally... I looked over and there was like a guy standing next to a tree and it was creepy as shit. Like, it creeped me out. I was just like, really?
Was he even looking around? Was he looking around?
No, he was staring right at his device. That's how I knew he was like capturing.
No, you knew exactly what he was doing, yeah.
Because he was right under the gym on the GPS, because it's all GPS based.
Yeah, so he's exactly at...
So it goes red again. And I'm like, oh shit, like, I need to get back on this. But, so that means I had to turn around and go back toward it. By the time I got back to it, it went yellow again. I'm like, man, these guys are just sitting here, like, touching each other's balls for, like... And it was so dumb, but it's kind of a cool aspect of the game.
But at the same time, it's kind of a great story already, of just, like, the absurdity of just, like...
It's absurd as shit.
And it's awesome, like, these 2 people were just sitting in a park, like... having a thumb war with their phone.
Basically. I mean, that was basically what it was. And the funny thing is they were wasting items while they were doing that, because you have to use revives and potions on your Pokemon if they get taken out.
Okay, yes, it's like Pokemon.
It's like Pokemon, but you don't battle actual people one-on-one yet, and you don't trade yet.
Yeah.
So we're assuming, I mean, I really would much rather have trading. I think that's a much cooler aspect of the game. But I'd also really just... Me on the inside would like a gambling feature, like where you gamble your Pokemon like in a battle.
But even that, like, have you?
You lose your Pokemon.
I understand. Immediately derail things. Have you heard
that's
the whole CS:GO thing?
That. So that's the problem with that, is that if we do that, kids are going to be getting into fights and phones are going to get broken constantly. I mean, there's already been 11 armed robberies over this game.
People stealing.
They're stealing devices, like phones, like $500 phones and $400 tablets.
Just for Pokemon?
No, just to steal.
Well, that's well, then that's not Pokemon's fault. That's stealing.
They're using Pokemon Go to do it.
Oh,
so they're like testing a lure.
Yeah,
they're testing an item at a Pokestop, and people are going to that Pokestop so they can all benefit from it. And these guys are just robbing them blind right there on the spot.
It's pretty awful. So
it's great and terrible, and I mean, no one's been hurt as far as I know.
It's great. It's really
not great. There was a fake murder.
A fake murder?
A fake murder, yeah. So what happened was one of those stupid ass... I'm not even going to give them validity. One of those news websites that makes fake articles on purpose.
Okay.
They made a fake article on purpose about like an older brother stabbing the shit out of his younger brother because he's deleted his Pokemon, supposedly.
Okay.
It was all obviously proven to be fake, and yeah, we go on from there. But it does bring up the point of, I mean...
People believed it. Did people believe it?
Of course people believed it. It's on the internet. People believed it, Dan.
It is the truth. At this point, it is the truth.
It's essentially the truth when it's posted on the internet, and you have to debunk it, or you need someone to debunk. You need someone with a level-headed mind, like, give me a break.
Yeah. To
go online and actually Snope it, or whatever you want to do, Snopes or Fact Finder, or whatever.
Yeah. Anyways.
But it does bring up a good point about, like, do you think... like this game will lead to more crime than it already has. I mean, we're only in the first week of release, and there's been 11 armed robberies in the USA. I don't know what's going on in Japan. That place is fucking crazy. Like,
is there something coming out of there? Have you heard? Is there heard anything out of there? Or are you just saying that?
I haven't heard anything. I have not heard anything out of Japan. They're probably all just very nice people to each other, unlike America, yes. Where we just stab each other and rob each other of our devices
under the pretenses of Pokemon fun.
Exactly. Like, I'm here for some Pokemon Go. It's like the truck with the free candy sign, or the van, the van with the free candy sign on it.
The free candy,
but it's got a Pokemon Go. I'm pretty sure that's already a meme somewhere, already. Like,
if
free
it's
Pokemon.
not, it's up to us.
That's now our copyrighted trademark.
We have to make it.
Well, yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
Before this is uploaded. Anyways,
Right.
It does bring up the point. Like, do you think it'll lead to more crime, or not only more crime, which I think it will, but worse crimes? Like, this is one of the things, like, I really don't like the fact that it's a night, it's active at nighttime. Because, like, if a kid decides to, like, leave his house, or a little girl that's, like, 7, 8, or a little boy, and they're just like, I'm gonna go catch this Pokemon, and mom and dad don't know when they get kidnapped. What happens?
Now we're getting into good parenting. That's not Pokemon's fault, is it?
No, good parenting is not Pokemon's fault, but this can happen. Okay, so let's say it has nothing to do with that. Let's say we have that situation where I was at, where I walked through and two guys were literally battling over a gym. Do you think they could go freaking ham on one another? Like, they're just like, you want to fight? Stop. Like, I'm tired of doing this. Or do we have to fight about this?
I've been burning items all night. I threw a master ball. Like,
exactly.
Like, when is it going to get to fisticuffs over stuff that it shouldn't? Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what, who was it? Niantic, right? That did so I don't know.
Niantic,
Nintendo.
Company.
Like, I don't know what direction the game's going to go, because you said it was still very much...
It feels very beta-ish.
Yeah, there's a lot of room to grow.
Literally no tutorial. There's a little tips button that I didn't even click on yet, because I'm assuming it just does nothing like the rest of the game.
No, you just assumed that if you press it, it's got, like, the best tutorial.
It probably has. It's probably so, like, thorough and, like...
It's thorough, but it's very concise. You're like, oh my god, like, I understand this game.
Extremely astute.
All this nuance to everything.
Right.
I was just wailing on the slider here, but, like, I don't know where they plan to take the game. So,
Neither do I. No one.
No
one
they have no idea. So,
nope.
Hopefully they're taking into consideration the fact that, we are kind of creating situations where things might get out of hand. And especially since, their previous game was Ingress.
Niantic, yes.
Niantic, yes, not Nintendo.
Not Nintendo, no.
Niantic's previous game was Ingress, which was a very similar, massively multiplayer, open world, like real life, augmented reality that's what I'm looking for. Augmented reality game with competing teams, and they had capture points. It was similar to the gyms.
Yeah.
And I don't really remember anybody going nuts over that, but at the same time,
you got to look at popularity.
No, I was going to say, like, that's also, I don't remember that being as immediately popular. Honestly, you had never heard of it, and it's like, I'm trying to think, and even amongst the people I knew, like, it never seemed as popular as Pokemon Go already sounds.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you go down my newsfeed on Facebook, and mind you, it's all adults on my feed. Like, I don't have anyone under 13.
You don't hang out with kids?
Well, I'm not going to talk about that on the podcast, but no. Like, everyone is talking about Pokemon Go. And there's even some people that are pissed off that other people, because that's what happened.
Well, yeah, because everybody talks about it.
They're like, be grown-ups, read books. And it's like, fuck you, I'm on my phone, it's a game, and games are fun.
I'm doing that thing that I spent most of my life doing and understand and communicate with, that
yeah, I mean,
pull something out of. Yes,
this relates to basic video game culture. Like,
absolutely.
I mean, we've grown up in this technological society where we play video games. It's what we do, and is like esports are huge. They're on what, TNT now or TBS? Yeah,
they've been on TV before though. That's not
right, but this is consistent and it's going. I don't know what the numbers are
MLG
like.
was consistent on USA like.
See, but
years
MLG
ago
sucked because it was like Halo, right? And Halo was garbage. So,
but it was popular.
True. Okay.
You can hate it all you want.
I don't hate it that much. I just like giving
You
it
just
shit.
like to be a complainer.
Well, I do. That's
it's
people
pretty
that
fun.
are listening to this know that I generally like to complain. Yes, that is a fact about me.
It's pretty great. But yeah, but
is there anything else you want on the Pokemon Go?
What I was going to say, like, to just continue, we totally derailed ourselves. I don't know, one of us did.
We always do.
With the, not just how popular it is, but the range of people that it's going to pull in. Because like you said, so it's a ton of like adults. Like, you know, a ton of adults.
Yeah.
And they're all playing it. And we've already said it before, like, there's 8-year-olds, you know they're playing it.
Yep.
So you're getting that full, like, Call of Duty gambit of...
oh, man.
Of players, yeah, right?
What a comparison.
Yeah, so not only are you going to get a bunch of just lunatics in, like, random spaces that are adults, but you're also going to get, like, there's some 9-year-old out
trolls?
there. Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
Well, no, you're going to get trolls. You're going to get that 9-year-old kid out there who's like crushing some 30-year-old, trying to like, and he's going to be out there like, yeah, your face is going to be yelling at this.
But as long as it keeps a sense of anonymity, like, I think that's okay.
But this is like, there's not though. Like you said, you're in this park. And you saw the guy. You knew that guy. You saw him there.
I mean, yeah, you're right.
When it's just like some 37-year-old who just like got fired and is just having the worst day ever.
I don't want to think about that. Like, that's terrifying.
It really is.
My buddy Jason brought it up the other night, and he was kind of like, you know, whatever. Someone gets fired, they get pissed, and they kill each other. You know, whatever.
It's like that's the. It's kind of the double edge of this.
It's definitely a double-edged sword in the general design of the game.
Yeah, because we totally have this awesome thing where everybody's out and hanging out and they're doing these things, and that it will lead to, like, retrospectively fun stories of just like, yeah, I was in this park and there was all these great, like, people just doing all this crazy, and that's really cool. But then we totally do have that, like...
We're seeing technology at work, which is a very great
We're seeing technology at work. We're seeing people engaging, even if not directly. They're outside. They're doing stuff. It's cool, like... It's a lot of positive stuff can come out of this, but there is absolutely that possibility of just really negative stuff coming out of this.
And that begs to question, like, how good is Nintendo's TOS on this game?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't read TOS. Who reads TOSs? But some assholes do. I mean, I believe
that's what's in the tip section.
I believe someone has kind of read through them, and there is some pretty ridiculous stuff in there.
There has to be.
They have to have some kind of liability thing in there. I mean, but to phrase that, like, you'd think there would be like a liability thing right up front, but all there is when you start loading the game, your loading screen for the entire game is like a kid walking on a dock. And there's like a sea creature monster popping its head out. So it's just and it says, like, be aware of your surroundings at all times, basically. And that doesn't just... I mean, what does that mean in your head? Like, to me, that means just keep an eye on where you're fucking walking.
Yeah, don't walk into
traffic.
But
to other people, that means, like, literally keep an eye on your surroundings as, like, suspicious people and things like that. I really don't know if they mean it to go that deep.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably a small percentage of people are pulling that meaning out of it.
Very small percentage. And definitely not children.
Yeah,
you know, children might be looking at the surrounding. I mean, dude, I was playing it last night, and I was walking home, and you know how many times I tripped, like, just on the sidewalk because Denver sucks and the sidewalk's all broken everywhere. Like, I tripped like 30, 40 times, like, literally. I'm not even kidding. It was ridiculous.
Look, it's not Denver's fault that you weren't paying attention to your surroundings. You didn't see the sea monster. You got the tentacles.
That's true.
That's your fault.
That's true. All right.
See, if you had the augmented reality on, you could have just been staring at the ground and you'd have seen the crack in your 3D camera.
There would have been a lag. There's always a lag. All right. Camera lag, whatever.
That's what. Yes, we actually were talking about that the other day. So we were talking about this pre-podcast, and I brought up people driving and playing this game.
Yeah.
And you know somebody's out there and they've got their camera and they're going to be holding it up. Just drive, like, one hand on the wheel, one hand on their phone, augmented reality on.
I've done it. Well, not with augmented reality on.
No, but
which is even more dangerous.
No, but
I see what you're saying.
But they're totally, and they're going to rationalize it as like, well, I've got it right here in front of my face. I can still see.
No,
and they're going to have some.
It works.
And it's going to be somebody with, like, a super latent phone. It's going to have, like, you know, like a second and a half of latency, and then that's the story we're going to have to hear is this jerk.
And that's why Pokemon Go disappeared.
Yeah, right, yeah, so I guess to sum up the extra 10 minutes we went through this topic is...
yeah, we really went on about this.
I want to see where it goes. I'm interested to see where Pokemon Go goes. I'm probably not going to play it. I'm sure you're going to keep playing it.
I mean, we'll see. And that's kind of what I told, you know, people that are kind of dismissing it online and, you know, saying like, oh, this is bullshit, blah, blah. I'm like, just give it a few weeks. like people will player base will drop off dramatically. Like that's
maybe they drop in something new. Like we don't know.
If they drop in something new that's like really dope, like yeah, I'll keep playing it. I can't lie, like I will. But you know, there's other stuff that I pay attention to and do. So it's not just Pokemon. Like
no, you are a professional Pokemon Go player.
There's already been a couple of days where I've not turned the app on at all, and that's not because I don't want to walk around. Because I do, like I play basketball every day, but I don't. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be sitting there in the park. You look really lame when you're alone too.
Yeah, so
like,
totally.
You just do. You're just like, and like you kind of like hide your device. Like, no, I'm not playing Pokemon Go. Or you start talking.
Be proud
to
of it. You start like, no, I got a call over here. I'm. This is fine.
No.
But yeah, so to kind of try and get away from Pokemon Go here.
Yeah.
To go into something that we actually talked about a little bit. We've talked about it previously, but we'll just go into it now. Like the fact that, so you brought up that people are using it, or like they're playing the game and they're basically just staring at their phone. They're sitting there by themselves.
Yeah.
And they're not interacting with other people. And I'm just going to go into this topic of, like I've heard people say that technology is pushing us apart. It's not actually bringing us together.
Yeah, I hate this.
Yeah, no, and it's just, I'm going to use we can go to something else. But like,
that's fine.
We, like, at what point do we start to actually worry about the fact that we are building games and like software in general, anything that
around real life?
Well, like when do we start worrying about the fact that it isn't connecting people, like that it's just kind of putting them in the same area and not necessarily in the same conversation?
I don't think it matters.
I don't think that's correct.
I personally don't. I mean, I think technology is great when it can bring people together in a positive way.
Well, let's just say, like, should we worry about that? Should that be a concern that we have now that, like, you know, should we build games that actually, that as a developer's, like...
Is it just about games, though?
Well, any software. Like, I'll go with any technology, any software, whatever.
So we can talk about social media, then.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's definitely social media. So should we start thinking about...
If you want to talk about this, and I don't want to go long about this now, we'll talk about this at a different time.
Plenty of time.
But I think there's a lot of negatives to social media, and I think we're seeing that in a lot of areas right now. There's a lot of misinformation. I think technology is the biggest double-edged sword in our lifetimes. Honestly, and, we're both 30. We're old as balls. No, but I think it is the biggest double-edged sword in our lifetime, and we're going to start seeing that more and more. Is where as we grew up with technology, we were literally watching it grow, and we were helping it grow as well, simply by playing the games that people were releasing and stuff like that, and hopping on.
The more people do it, the more it's growing. I mean, that's
exactly. But
just what it is.
When does it become a monster? And I think stuff like Facebook and. Even though I love Facebook, I use it all the time, honestly. Like, I'm always on it.
Yeah.
But when does it become, like, this social monster that just ruins the world?
Well, no, yeah, so at what point do we start to worry about, like, or at what point do we start to demand or ask that the developers start considering, like, on a much deeper level, what their software, what their technology is asking people to do or training people to do?
That's a really deep question, and I have no fucking idea.
No idea. I don't want to.
I don't want to know. Yeah, I don't.
I just want them to make good stuff. God.
Really, like that's the truth. I just want to make good games, and like, there's already like a lot of like super conspiracy theorists talking about that, like Pokemon Go. It's collecting all your data. And it's like. They're watching.
Everything else is collecting
Big
all your data.
I know, I agree with that. And that was brought up, like Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff is, your phone is on, like your camera's on, everything's on. Like, it's collecting data. Like, I don't think people are realizing that. But when something like big, like a game like this comes out, you're going to have the conspiracy theorists from the far end of the spectrum that are just like, oh man, like the CIA, they built Pokemon. And it's like, well, no, they didn't. Like, give me a break. You know what I mean? So,
Whatever. You know what? If the CIA built Pokemon and it was fun,
That's
like, you know what? I guess I'm just doing that.
I'm just gonna have fun now. Yeah, fuck it. Like, I don't got anything to hide. There's a lot of weird porn on my computer,
yet.
But that's about it. Yeah.
Right. That's not on my phone though. That's fine.
True. Very true.
Fair enough. All right. So.
Moving along. What do we got next up on the?
Yeah, I don't know.
On the subject board here.
I don't know what. Anything floats your boat?
We are really winging it on this one, guys. So, I mean, we'll go with something else. We can talk about, I'll talk about a little bit of, let's do some television.
Yeah, right, yeah, what do you got?
I understand
Wrote some stuff down. Yeah.
I mean, you are actually seemingly watching more shit than I am. Which is a little surprising.
So I totally didn't think about this until we started writing down topics.
Right.
I was like, oh, this, and then I was like, oh yeah, TV stuff, and like, what do we have in here? And then I was like, I got like 10 fucking TV shows I'm watching.
Well, it's not only that, but you have a bunch of shit that I've never heard of, and like my main one that I wrote was Orange is the New Black. Like, it couldn't get any more like general populace than that. Like,
right?
It really couldn't.
Which is a show I've only heard about.
And I think you're crazy for not watching it. I think it's a great show.
Well, no, it's like, so I've only heard about it. Everybody says it's great.
In general.
And the only reason I was faced with a moment where I had to choose between watching Orange is the New Black and something else, and the reason I didn't pick Orange is the New Black is because Orange is the New Black is actually an American remake or adaptation of an Australian show called Wentworth.
Really?
Yeah.
This is something I didn't even know about because I thought this was based off the main character of Orange is the New Black. Her name is Piper, and her character, like, apparently mimics a real-life person named Piper something.
Okay, yeah, so you know what? They probably took a real-life person
right.
and infused it into the remake, so it wasn't entirely just like a remake or a co-option.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's actually this show called Wentworth. It's about a women's prison in Australia, and...
Wow.
And yeah, and so I was, and like, all the people I know were talking about Wentworth, and they were like, oh, Orange is the New Black, and then they brought up Wentworth, and I was like, well, I guess I'll watch the one that everybody I know is watching.
Right.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, okay.
Yeah, so I went with that, and I liked it. I've only seen a little bit of it. It's great. There's a bunch of Australian ladies, like, stabbing people.
Like, that's pretty intense. I mean, I can definitely say that Orange is the New Black is not really like that.
I mean, there's other stuff. Is there a kid in the prison? Just FYI.
No.
Question?
It's a woman's adult prison in America.
So I don't know how Australian prison works. I don't know how accurate Wentworth is, but there's just a kid that just lives in this prison with this lady.
Okay, this show sounds like it's a fucking fantasy
It's
show.
ridiculous. Like, I don't know, but like, because I don't know, it's like sort of seems like a minimum-ish security prison, but the people get stabbed. Like,
this is minimum as well.
Yeah, but it's like the depth of, like, I kind of understand maybe there is some kind of thing like, oh, if your kid's here, like, I don't know why this kid is in this prison. I really don't. I don't know if Australia works this way. I have no idea why this kid is there, but there's totally a kid there, and she sees people get stabbed, and like, and she sees people get stabbed, and then is there for like 2 more episodes. Like,
that's weird.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I'm gonna have to check it out. I can't really comment on that. I mean,
I recommend it. It's pretty great. What little I've seen of it is pretty great.
Okay.
Everybody out there,
I don't know much about Australian
internet.
TV. I don't know if I've watched a lot of Australian TV. I like Jim Jeffries. He's Australian.
He's pretty great. Yeah. You watched Jim Jeffries' show, right? Or what was his show?
Legit. God,
yeah,
it's amazing. Got canceled after 2 seasons.
Did you find it? Because wait, the last time I talked to you about Legit, you hadn't seen the 2nd season yet.
Probably not, but I have now.
Now.
I finished it.
Dude, was that season not incredible?
It was incredible. Like, this show is okay. So Legit is basically about a comedian's life.
Yeah, so it's Jim Jeffries, Australian comedian.
Yeah,
he makes a show in the same vein as Louis.
Exactly.
Where it's like,
except it's not as dark.
No, what? No, that 2nd season was totally super dark.
Okay, you're right.
That was rough. Yeah.
I don't know, but Louis, like, the very first episode was dark and weird right away.
Yeah, but like it certainly doesn't have the that real like juxtaposition of like incredibly serious and like deadpan. This is just how people's lives are.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden like a joke, and you're like, this is amazing.
Right.
But it's definitely like it's just about a comedian. He's not trying to appease somebody else. He's not, which is probably a good. Like, he probably doesn't have the acting chops to.
Exactly.
go out there, and so it's a great basis. It's not about Jim. No, he is. Is he Jim in the show? I can't remember.
He is Jim in the show.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just
it's
so
totally,
it really,
and he tells stories. There's stories in the show that he tells on stage as well in real life. So it's definitely juxtaposed.
Yeah, and it's totally just like Louis. It's just not
basically and
tonally different, but
yeah. And we screwed up as Americans. Whoever the fuck did not watch that show, because it's hilarious.
It's really, really funny. I will absolutely. I love that show.
If you haven't seen Legit, it is on Netflix. Go watch it. There's only 2 seasons. It's one of the fun. If you like dark humor or just deadpan, like
dark humor, deadpan.
It's really hard to explain, but it's fantastic.
It has a really wide range. It's got a big. I don't even know what word I was looking for, but yeah, it's got a lot. It covers a lot in the spectrum of humor.
Yeah, and he really. I mean, they killed it. I mean, I was so upset.
I was super pumped. I really wanted to see a 3rd season because they actually said. Like, one of the things I remember hearing about it was that it was going to be more positive.
Okay.
Something I was going to say earlier about the 2nd season was that the 2nd season, was that not like the most like abject, just like sadness with some of the stuff that happened in there?
Pure sadness.
Like, was it Steve? His friend Steve was just like the most depressing.
Right.
Like, I don't know how they managed to make him simultaneously.
His parents still live together, but his dad lives outside in a tent, and his mom controls the amount of beer that his dad gets at any given time.
Yeah, his dad has
he's this
beer
crazy
allowance.
Hoarder.
Yeah,
it's so off the wall, but it's just fantastic.
But it was because he has problems with his wife. He's going through this horrible divorce. He can't see his kid. He's losing his job. Like everything, and it somehow managed to be this horrible. This guy's life was terrible, just abject sadness, and then right after something. Like, the funniest joke would come out of it. Like, I don't know what... Like, the writers' meetings or whoever was sitting around writing that show must have had the best time.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think Jim was one of the key writers on it, too, obviously. Yeah. But, yeah, you do prove a good point. Like, and this kind of... I do want to talk about this, because you're mainly talking about the character Steve right now, which is a side character.
But, I loved him. I loved so much of what happened with him.
Well, so do I, and that's how... I kind of want to go back to Orange is the New Black on this one.
Yeah, good, go.
Because I want to talk about what I call the decline of the main character.
Okay.
Because I think we're seeing a lot in TV now of main characters becoming less and less important, because they'll start it off like it's all about this person's life and this is this person, and then they kill that idea and they're like, no, there's way more depth when we have more characters. And a problem that Orange is the New Black had was that in the first 2 seasons, they introduced all these great characters, but you really didn't know a damn thing about them, and that means what? You don't care about them, right?
Yeah, right. Like they just become like one-off.
Yeah, there's no character development early on, but they're always around because they're in this women's prison where they only show 30 or 40 people constantly. Even though there's definitely more people there. But I mean, literally, like I was watching the newest season, and Piper, the main character, like her character does not get any sort of interesting until the 7th episode, and you got to keep in mind this is a Netflix show. There's only 13 episodes, right? It acts like the first season of any other show, where they generally have 13 episodes, and then if they make it big, next season is 22 episodes or whatever, right?
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, her character did not get any sort of interesting until the 7th episode. But the only thing that gave that show redeeming quality was that they were developing other characters in the prison, which was actually, it was great. It was really good to see these. And it ended up being, in my opinion, the best season of the show thus far by the end of it.
Season 1?
No, season 4.
Okay,
the newest one.
Okay.
By the end of it, like, it really caught itself back. Because I feel like in the 2nd season, they tried to be too funny. Okay. And this is the Jenji Kohan problem. Jenji is, she created Weeds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right? So Weeds started out fantastic.
Yeah, that
Weeds was one of the best shows for about 3 seasons, and then it just turned into a shitstorm.
I will agree with that.
It was awful, right?
I remember loving that.
So when Orange is the New Black was announced and I saw that Jenji was doing it, I was like, oh man, like it's going to be great, and I'm going to love it, and then I'm going to hate it. And that's exactly what happened in the 2nd season. I started really disliking it. And it was because they were trying to be too funny. And I'm like, this is a women's prison. You can't always be funny. Like, this needs to start getting dark or serious.
You can, but that's like, you can't... I assume the first season didn't set that tone.
No, the first season was about half and half.
Okay, yeah, no, so that's like
where you want it.
If you see a movie or a TV show about prison and they immediately set the tone like, haha, this is a comedy, like, this is a wackadoo, like, we're just having fun with this. Like, if you watch Let's Go to Prison...
Right.
like, you know that's just comedy. You're not,
right.
That's not going to be, like, something serious, but...
Exactly.
Yeah, if they didn't set that tone, then that's really not going to help them out.
So the writers are going up and down, changing their tones throughout, you know, and so
Which
I think
can work, but it doesn't sound like
it can, but in this one it didn't work. So the second season they stumbled, third season, bam, came back, it was great, pretty much the whole season, I enjoyed it. Fourth season, I really didn't start enjoying it until the seventh episode, when Piper's character started evolving. Okay. Even though there was other cool stories going on, I just didn't like the show that much.
Yeah, okay.
Bottom line, I was just like, man, I'm gonna watch it all because I know it's gonna get good.
Because you can just feel it coming. You're like, there's this web that they're building is so obviously gonna be
waiting
great
for that moment. You're just like, where is it? And boom, it hits. And
you get that payoff. And you're like,
yes! Woo! Yeah, it hits like a freight train. And you're like, man, this is why this show is so good and so popular. I can't say that for The Walking Dead, which is garbage.
Just all around. I haven't watched Walking Dead
on it now. Yeah, I think at this point, I think they should just stop.
So like I don't watch The Walking Dead. I never have watched The Walking Dead. I don't think I've ever seen more than like 5 minutes of it. Which
I'd say watch the first episode. That was directed by the dude that directed Shawshank.
Oh, okay.
And it was in black and white, and it was beautiful, and it was really well done.
This is great, yeah.
I mean, it was amazingly well done. I was like, man, if the whole series is like this, nope, it just isn't.
No, because it's like, it seems, what is it on now?
What channel?
No, what series, or what season is it on?
They're on season 7 or 8.
Yeah, so it seems like, because I want to say I remember... Like everybody, Walking Dead for
I was
3 or 4 seasons.
For about 3 seasons.
Yeah, and then I haven't heard anything like besides there's some cliffhanger the last episode of the season.
There's always a cliffhanger in the show.
No, and then they were gonna like sue people if they if somebody leaks spoilers. Some crazy like this is the only thing I know about The Walking Dead. People liked it for a while, and now AMC's being real jerky about spoilers. That's all I know about it. And the fact that that's like the only thing I know about it at this point is a little damning for the show overall in my mind. That like it has kind of like it's not engaging people enough for them to really be talking about it. It's just kind of a thing they do anymore.
I think it's just a thing that people do, and I think a lot of people do still enjoy it.
Okay. No, yeah, I mean, I assume.
Bottom line,
they're still making it.
But we can definitely segue that into Preacher.
Absolutely,
you're watching.
Yeah. So I'm watching Preacher. It's on episode 5. And I think
this is definitely something we don't want to give spoilers out.
I don't want to. Yeah, I'm not. Well,
but we can talk about it.
Preacher is adapted from a comic book, so you can get all the spoilers you want.
You can say that about The Walking Dead, too.
Yeah, exactly.
You can still spoil it for anyone. I mean...
again, it's based on a comic book. I haven't read the comic book, so I don't know what happens.
Exactly.
But yeah, like I actually had the same problem with Preacher that you had with Orange is the New Black on a much smaller scale in that...
Yeah, you're only 5 episodes in.
Yeah, I mean, there's 5... But the first episode didn't move me. Like, I actually watched it in 3 separate pieces. Like, I watched 20 minutes, and I was just like, man, I know it's going to get better. Because I actually have read other comics from the guy Garth Ennis, which I hope that's how his last name's pronounced.
I from reading it, yes.
It looks like Ennis, but it could be Enos or something. I don't know.
Who cares?
But Ennis, yeah. He's foreign. But, yeah, so, like, I've read other work that he's done, and I've loved it. So I was like, and I heard a lot of things about Preacher, like, oh, it's going to be really great. And so I came back to it after those first 20 minutes. I watched another, like, 20 minutes. I think it's like an hour and a half episode, or like an hour and 10.
That's how AMC typically does.
Yeah, like, so it's a little bit longer.
Shows, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I know this is going to go somewhere. I know this is going to be, it's sooner or later it's going to be Garth Ennis. And I'm like, oh, this is great. And I just kind of got through the first episode, and I was really like, man, this just isn't doing it. And then I watched the second episode, and I was like, all right, there we go. Like...
Right.
Like, the second episode was totally the payoff, or it was more paying off, and I think the third episode was a payoff, because then some big things happened.
I have to ask, is this related to the ultra-violence of the show in any way?
Yeah, no, so
is that kind of what you were waiting for, or was that there since the beginning?
Yes and no. Well, no, so it's, like, the thing about Garth Ennis is he is known for ultra violence and gore and like really like graphic, just sexuality stuff. Like really, he's super like shock value almost. But it's
which makes me like just
well,
tremoring in anger right now because I hate that type of shit in general.
Well, no, yeah, but the thing I like about Garth Ennis is that he doesn't like it doesn't necessarily get used just for shock value. He actually does a really good job of like that kind of the juxtaposition we were talking about of like dark stuff and comedy. He does that with like ultra violence and just like everyday life, and it really it helps to drive home when people do horrifying things.
Right.
Because like a lot of times you see or the media we experience is like people do something horrifying and you're like, oh, I mean that's really bad, but like we're so used to it kind of being a thing that happens off camera or gets super underplayed in the way it's like presented to us, that when you get hit with this thing that you're like, that was super graphic and incredibly like it's almost unnecessarily like violent and gore,
right.
But it's just backed off enough that you're just like, this, like it really hammers home a point about how horrifying things can be or how ridiculous people can be or how like just it really makes it feel within that universe. It makes that universe feel more real by having those extremes.
Okay.
So yeah, so like no, the first episode actually has some pretty ridiculous violence in it.
I've seen a chunk of the first episode and I was just like, wow, like,
was it
really?
Like was it the fight? There's a fight in the first one.
Yeah.
Was it the fight?
I believe it was.
Yeah, so there's a fight and you're just like, what the? This is so ridiculous.
It was ludicrous.
But like when you see the rest of the episode, and again, like the first episode for me just wasn't that great. Right. I don't think it was that great, but like yeah, it keeps going. And
I read the opposite, just so you know.
What do you mean? You read the opposite?
A lot of people talking about the show, they loved the first episode. They said it took them a few minutes to get into it, but once they were like, oh shit, they were in it.
Well, and I can totally see that, because it's just, I don't know if it's, like, it's kind of a thing with me anymore.
But is it because you knew Garth Ennis before? A lot of these people didn't.
That probably had a little effect on it, but not, because it's been a while since I've read anything from him, so.
Right.
No, I think it's actually just a thing with me getting into this now is, like, I have, like, when I watch movies or TV shows now, it takes me like way longer to get into it than it used to.
Oh, that's the same with me.
Yeah, so it was. I think it was just more that than anything, because I could totally, like, I was seeing all the points in the first episode, like, which is maybe why I wasn't engaged by it. Is that I could tell where they were trying to, like, here's a shock value thing, here's a joke. Yep. Like, it felt almost like they were ticking things off the list. Like, here's all the things to throw in the first episode to get people into it. And it's like, dude, I don't want that. I want you to get to the story. And if the story takes 9 episodes of just being boring as shit, but it has, like, super great payoff in episode 10, I want that. I don't want you to, like, sugarcoat the first episode to get me into it.
How do you feel about the fact that this is Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg's baby? And if I mean, everyone knows who Seth Rogen is, but
I've heard the other name. I don't.
Evan Goldberg, he was the creator and did a lot of writing for all the comedies that Seth Rogen has been in, Knocked Up, all those, pretty much all of them. Evan Goldberg has been associated with Judd Apatow and all them. They're all on the same crew.
The gang.
Yeah.
The crew.
So these two got together and were like, we're gonna write something, put something together. How do you feel about? Do you think they've succeeded? And do you see any of them in this show?
So, is Seth Rogen? Is he a comics guy? Does he read comics? Or
I bet he does.
Does Goldberg?
I bet they both do.
Okay, yeah, no. So, I mean, yes, especially to adapt Preacher.
Yeah,
I'm sure that they have read it. Yeah. So, I think they've done a good job with it, and I think. Especially coming from a comic background, because that is another thing about Garth Ennis works, is that he is a lot of black comedy, like a lot of dark comedy, dark humor, like that. There's definitely an undertone of that, because that's kind of the only way that you can, like, segue out of some of the horrible stuff that he depicts.
Right.
I think they're so far they're doing a pretty good job of keeping things grounded. So certainly the ultraviolence in the show isn't nearly as ultraviolent as it is in the comics.
Yeah, like, I mean, comics really go overboard.
Well, that's So, and especially
you love them, though.
Well, it's, like, comics go overboard, but, like, cause most of his, like, super crazy graphic stuff either happened outside of mainstream comics or gets obviously toned down when he does stuff in mainstream comics.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're doing a good job of maintaining kind of, like, the seriousness with humor, with, like, the ridiculous, like, gore stuff, and they're really building what feels like a real like universe. Like the
That's
universe
cool.
feels believable, the characters feel believable.
I really like the guy that plays the preacher. I can't remember his name.
Oh my god,
He's great.
I haven't seen. I don't know what else is he in.
I don't know
because I haven't looked him up. But
he's from what I saw in Preacher, like he's the perfect guy for that role. Like it seems like
he's doing a really good job with the role.
Nailed it, yeah.
Yeah, they did. Like he's doing a very good job with the the casting overall. I'll say the casting. So do you know Jackie Earl Haley?
Not by name.
He was in Watchmen. Did you see Watchmen?
Yeah, of course.
Well, no, so he was Rorschach in Watchmen.
Okay.
The only guy that was particularly good in Watchmen.
I know exactly who he is.
He's in this. He's phenomenal.
Really?
The character that he plays, like just to begin with, the character that he plays is fantastic. But he does it perfectly, and I couldn't remember who he was. Like I'm watching it, and they say his name in the credits. So I'm like, man, I know that name, but I just couldn't put his face to it. And I'm watching, I'm like, this guy's amazing. Who is this guy? He's amazing. He's fantastic.
Really?
So if you like,
I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, if you get
Especially
to like,
it's
now.
A
fantastic. So far, they've done a fantastic job with it. If they keep up with it, I mean, it was a comic that ran for 100 something. I think we just read out.
So it ran for a while.
Well, yeah, it ran for 5 years, from 95 to 2000. I did a smidge of research on the comic. It ran for 5 years, and I want to say it had 100 issues. And if they just stick to telling that story, and they don't I don't know if Walking Dead has gone off script yet or off.
I think they did right away.
Yeah,
I mean, not in the first episode, but very quickly after
very
that.
quickly,
I think they touched off script.
Yeah.
Like they tried to
they just kind of pull things
the main
here
story,
and there,
but they definitely pull stuff out of their asses where they think it should fit.
But yeah, so that's So if they stick to, or assuming based on, so after Preacher, Garth Ennis wrote a comic series called The Boys, which if you get a chance, I really recommend that if you can stand the violence and the gore and stuff, because it was really, really fun and just ridiculous.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm not in general a fan of gore or anything like that.
Well, that's you or anybody listening.
But I know people I know people that I know on Facebook in real life that are huge fans of, they want that ultra gore, that ultra violence. They want it. They crave it. It's crazy.
So so for anybody that wants that, check out Garth Ennis's comics. There's plenty of them, and they're plentiful of it.
That's awesome. Because I'm the guy that I will watch a drama and be happy. As long as it's well written.
If it's good. If you got a good story out of it.
Yeah, I don't care. As long as it's well done, well written. It's kind of like a lot of people, I heard at least, a lot of people didn't like Interstellar.
I've heard that as well.
And I thought it was fucking brilliant. I love Christopher Nolan, and it's not just because of that. When I watched it, I didn't know that he directed it.
Oh wow, yeah. So you just went into it like there's a movie about space.
And I mean, you can look in the last week on my Facebook page. I would ask people give me a good sci-fi flick to watch, which someone did. My good friend Misha gave me Turbokid, which was freaking amazing, and I totally recommend it.
Is that recent? Have I heard of
it? It is pretty. I believe it's 2014, 2015.
Okay.
Yeah. You need to see it. It's 80s video game. It's perfect. It's so perfect. The only way I can describe Turbokid is what was that Far Cry spinoff? They came off of Far Cry 3.
Oh, Blood Dragon.
Blood Dragon, yeah. I don't know if you played that at all, but it totally used 80s music and 80s ideas.
I watched a playthrough of it.
Yeah.
I did the almost playing it, which isn't playing it at all. Yeah.
Oh god. But this is what Turbokid is, and they kill it. It's.
Oh yeah, I did hear something about this. Yeah, it sounds familiar, but I can't picture it.
And it's kind of like that thing that they just did with David Hasselhoff, that little movie, the 30-minute movie.
Yeah, what was that?
I can never remember the name of that shit. It wasn't
Kung Fury?
Kung Fury, yeah.
Which was fantastic.
Yeah, it was alright. I mean, it was a little over the top. I mean, where this was it's not quite as over the top, but it's still this 80s kid, or this 80s type story set in the mid 90s, 1994 or something.
So it's an 80s story kind of set in a more modern time from a modern perspective.
Yeah.
From our perspective, from a modern,
yes.
It has the sensibilities of 2015.
It was fantastic.
Okay.
But anyways, back to Interstellar. I think the writing in this thing was absolutely brilliant. I love Anne Hathaway. A lot of people don't.
Okay, yeah, like her.
I apparently hear like she's a bitch, like in real life. Like when people act with her, like they don't like it. She's really.
But that's like it.
I know,
there's
but
a lot
like
of people
really,
that describe.
She's one of the people that's like really like they talk about it a lot. Like
Difficult to work with.
Exactly. Okay, yeah. Egotistical, etc., etc. But she was great in the movie, and I mean, anyone in the right role, in my opinion, can be great.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It just has to be the right role for them.
Well, that's kind of the difference between a great actor and just an actor.
Just an actor.
Like if you put a great actor in most roles, they'll make it great.
Johnny Depp.
What about Johnny Depp?
I'm just giving an example of that.
Used to be great.
Well, used to be, but I'm giving an example of that. Like,
okay, yeah.
You put him in most roles back in the late 90s, whatever.
Back when he was on and he was killing it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he killed everything. And Christian Bale, at the beginning of his career, killed everything.
He was great for
He was so great. I don't know what he's doing now. I mean, honestly, I saw him in The Big Short, and he was fantastic.
That's like, I assume he's still decent, like...
A good actor is never just going to get shitty. I don't think that's the case.
Like, they're not just...
They just start grabbing roles out of the air because this one makes more money than the other one, and
but like
they're more interested in the topic than
Well, it was like I heard somebody describe Robert De Niro and like the work he's been doing recently is just kind of
man.
It's not necessarily that he's like phoning it in, but like the fact that he's like made it, he kind of just like doesn't have the drive. He's not hungry for it anymore.
He's done, and I read I read an article with or not an article, just a little thing that Al Pacino apparently said is that he and Robert De Niro, like, for their final flick, they want to do it together. And they want to come out, like, do this amazing, like, final movie for both of them. That could be rumor. I'm not positive on that, but I'm pretty sure it was Al Pacino that said that. Okay. Which is totally cool. And I'm down to see that. But Interstellar is a great film. Like, if you're interested in space at all, like, this thing really, it goes a little bit past the fourth dimension and starts talking about the fifth dimension.
Yeah, I remember there was...
Which we don't talk about often.
But people don't even understand four dimensions. Why would you expect them to understand either of them?
Yeah. It's just a great movie, man. Like, I don't understand why there's so much negativity surrounding it. Like, I felt like they nailed everything. Almost everything. I mean, no movie nails everything.
Well, yeah, no. But...
I don't think I've ever seen that. But I still it's in the top 10 in the last decade for me. It really is. Okay. Yeah. And with that said, there's 3 Christopher Nolan movies in the top 10 in the last decade for me.
He's got some good ones. He
he kills it.
He does. Well, so like, because I was thinking about a while back, why Christopher Nolan, like, what makes his movies so successful? Like, for so long, it was just like, man, these movies just work. Like, I don't know, like, why they don't. And I thought about it, and it's like, one of the main complaints I heard about Inception was they spent like half the movie like telling you how shit works.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, like that's true, but I mean, it was actually still engaging. I really liked Inception.
Exactly. Like, that's one of the top 10.
Yeah, and I started thinking about like the reason why his movies, or the reason I think why his movies work so well is that he focuses so much on structure that the worlds that he builds are like even if you're not consciously paying attention to it, you understand the rules. You know how the kid, like, you can see the world that they're living in and understand it. You know, like, the limitations of characters. You know
exactly.
Like, you know exactly what the space they're working in. So even if it takes like 3/4 of the movie to explain that, like, it ends up paying off super well. The
payoff is so big.
Yeah, because you're just like, I get their reality. Like, I totally understand this universe, and then now once the audience understands that universe, you can go nuts and he can play and just do all kinds of great stuff.
He does.
And as long as he follows his own rules, which he seems to.
He seems to. And the end of Interstellar is ridiculous. The idea of him traveling into a black hole and what happens is absolutely insane. And it's something that we literally know nothing about. So he freeballed it and he made his own universe.
Literally. So you know what? Maybe, if nothing else, maybe that's why people didn't like it. Is because
there was a lot of complaints about this ending part of the movie.
So to go with it, would you say, just based on this theory that I just threw out there, like, does he spend the movie kind of building rules and like
a little bit
building structure, and then does the ending seem to not play by those rules?
No, I'm
No,
gonna disagree.
okay, no. I'm asking. I haven't seen it, so I'm wondering. Would you?
No, so I'm gonna say no.
Okay, so I'm just
feel
wondering.
like the movie is more about this journey.
Okay.
And the journey works. I mean, and the way that they use the concept of gravity, that's mainly what it's about.
Yes, I remember something about gravity. Yeah, okay.
We're not talking about the shitty film gravity. We're talking about gravity.
The actual concept of gravity, which is a thing in reality we don't entirely understand.
We still don't entirely understand. That's why we don't understand how black holes entirely work.
Yeah.
And this movie really plays off that idea. And it does it in really warm, like, touching ways, and it works. I don't know why. I think McConaughey was a great pick for the lead. He crushes it. And
there's a guy who went the opposite direction. Started out making movies like McConaughey, like he was in like Dazed and Confused or whatever.
Yeah. That's the main one I can think of. It's just all right.
Yeah, right. And now he's like a real actor.
Now it's like, wow, look at you. We respect you now.
Yeah, right.
You know?
And he's killing it.
He
like
is.
What, I saw him do something recently, and I was like, "Gee,
he hasn't been bad in a long time."
Yeah,
I mean that's why we can't. We can't think of anything specific is because he's been good in everything lately. So it's just like
a blur of like, well, this is all great.
Yeah, and I love actors that can do that, man. I love actors that grow like that, and I hate seeing the demise of people like Johnny Depp who are just like, hey, Mr. Burton, are we doing a film?
Please?
Yeah, can we please do a film?
Is there another Pirates coming?
There is another Pirates coming, by the way.
Is he in it?
He's in it. Of course he's in it, man.
They should just call it Johnny Depp of the Caribbean.
It basically is. And, I mean, the first Pirates was amazing.
It was a good movie. I enjoyed
amazing.
That. Yeah.
It was so fun, and his character was so whimsical and perfect. But then the story just started going wherever the hell it wanted to, and it was awful.
To a place where you go when you have 7 movies.
Yeah, 7 movies, just a hell, like, just a pit.
Yeah, unless you've like actually planned the stuff out, and even then, it doesn't always work. It doesn't usually work.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I think Tim Burton and Johnny Depp are spiraling down a hole.
Tim Burton did something recently, too, that I don't know if I saw it. I don't know. He's like, I haven't heard anything positive.
Beetlejuice 2 I'm pretty sure he's doing that.
2? Come on.
Yeah, right? Like, talk about a movie that doesn't need a sequel.
No, that's...
We'll have a whole separate thing on this in another episode, but talk about a movie that does not need a sequel. Ghostbusters. Or a reboot.
Let's see, it's a reboot.
That's a reboot.
It got 75 on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's got a personal opinion on it from what I've seen from it. That's all I can say.
No, so that was...
What?
I don't really have an opinion on it, but the one critic I do follow, which is Movie Bob, who I'll send people to Movie Bob. I like him.
Yeah.
He basically said the same thing. He was like, there's no... Like, the original Ghostbusters was like lightning in a bottle. It kind of only worked because of like the weird moment in time it was in, and like who was in it and how it was made, and just this culture surrounding it. Like, it was like they could have made it work, but it was like almost lucky that it worked as well as it did and it got as big as it did. And you can't force that to happen. You can't just build a class. Like, you can't say like, I'm gonna make a classic, and like you can't do that. And that's why, like, trying to remake stuff that has stuff that has like cult appeal and stuff that was totally just a product of that moment in time and only really works out of like because it came into being at that moment in time, like, you can't do that. And so,
or you shouldn't do that.
Well, you really can't, like, unless I'm not gonna say you shouldn't, because out there somewhere is somebody at some point will make a reboot that it turns out like, this is 10 times as much lightning in a bottle as the first one. Like, right. I don't want to say you can't do it, but it's beyond difficult.
Right.
And most people are not up to that kind of task.
I think just like another like off-kilter sequel down the road is kind of cool. I think they did okay with Jurassic Park with the Lost.
You're right, or like a
what is that movie called?
Jurassic World.
Jurassic World, yeah. I thought they did okay with that.
Yeah, people liked it.
I enjoyed it.
And it wasn't a reboot, right?
It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad at all.
I heard
it wasn't a reboot. I mean, it kind of was a reboot. If you
like a
really
soft reboot?
About it. Yeah, it was a light.
It
was a light reboot. Yeah, so it was kind of like, oh, here's Jurassic World now. But they do cater to the Jurassic Park fans and the people that grew up with it.
Well, so I'm saying,
that's, fan service is fantastic. We love it. We thrive on it.
How about, so instead of trying to make the magical reboot, like, why don't we just focus on, you know what? Fine, you want to make something in this universe and use these characters, just make it a sequel. Make it a passing of the
A
torch.
sequel,
Do what like Star Wars did. So yes, was it a soft reboot? Yes, but it was actually in continuity soft reboot that worked with the story. It
worked
wasn't
amazingly well. And this, I mean, I am so Star Wars biased. It's stupid. It's ridiculous how Star Wars biased I am. I love all of them, even the tragic prequels. I think I know that they could have been better, and I can literally point out exactly what's bad with them when I watch them. But I love it. I love the universe. And man, when this movie came out, it blew me away. When 7 came out, it knocked my socks off.
They did a great job with it.
Abrams destroyed preconceptions that I had. I mean, he killed it, and using the, what do you call it, like the realistic kind of, that they don't use a lot of graphics and stuff.
Doing like not non-CG?
Yeah, non-CG, but practical effects.
Practical effects, okay.
Yeah, so it relies a lot upon practical effects, but a lot upon CG, and when he uses CG, unlike Lucas did, he uses CG brilliantly.
Like much more subtly, I would say.
Subtly,
not even subtly, but
you
like,
just don't notice it because you're so fucking engaged in the movie.
It's actually there to enhance things and not be the thing.
Exactly, and there's a scene where Finn is watching. I'm blanking on his name right now. But anyways, there's a scene where Finn, the character, is watching this guy that flies a TIE fighter, and he takes out. Or not a TIE fighter, an X-Wing, sorry. And he takes out like 10 TIE fighters in like 30 seconds, and they show you in this whole like amazing sequence. And it's just beautiful and brilliant, and we need more of it. And I don't know what the hell Abrams does, and this is the last thing I want to touch on. I think we should probably wrap this up.
We've been talking for like 9 hours.
Yeah, whatever. People love it. I don't know why Abrams like gets himself involved with things and then backs off. It's a mystery to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think he did the first 2 Star Trek reboots.
Okay. Yeah.
He's only doing episode 7. And then, there's going to be 8 and 9, right?
Yeah.
And Ryan Johnson is on to do episode 8. He directed Looper. With Bruce Willis.
I like Looper.
Great movie. So it gives you great promise for episode 8, right?
Yeah.
And then there's, we have, Abrams, he did Lost for like a couple of seasons, and he's like, I'm out, you guys fix it and finish it and whatever. And
which seasons did he do with Lost?
Like the first 2. Like he was
the ones I don't like.
He created the series. He created the series, and I love those seasons. Like the seasons that I love of Lost is where it's reality, where their reality is they're stuck on this island.
I was exactly 4 and 5 were my favorite,
and that's why I love it. Like I love why they're stuck on. I kind of just love the whole deserted island like theme. Yeah, I think it's
I thought it was a really good idea.
It's an interesting theme, but I think he killed it. I mean, come on. Alias was great. I actually think he did Alias like pretty much the whole time.
I haven't.
So lately, I don't know what he's doing.
Backing off, yeah.
Like, are you stupid? Like, why are you not doing Star Wars? He spilled water, folks. But like, why are you not doing Star Wars 8 and 9? Like, are you? They gave him the option.
They probably didn't even need to give it. He probably could have just walked in like, I'm doing 8 and 9, and all right.
Yeah, but why is
I don't know. Like, maybe the guy really does value doing new stuff,
right? But that doesn't mean you can't fit in other new stuff between. I mean,
I don't know. I'm not him.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
It's just kind of a go nowhere type of subject.
It's just you like.
It's
just like
my
come on,
thoughts
please.
on J.J. Abrams, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? Like, why? Because I think Simon Pegg is the main person behind the new Star Trek.
Yeah, I heard he's writing. Yeah, so yeah,
and he's great, and that's another whole thing is the new Star Trek. The first, he turned Sulu gay, and the real Sulu in real life got pissed off about it. Okay. George Takei got really upset about it. I don't know why, but it was this interesting situation. But yeah, Abrams needs to get his shit together and just stick with something, man, because we like what you do.
Do a thing! Come on!
Yeah, just do it.
Just take it through to its conclusion so we can just be happy with the whole thing instead of part of it.
Exactly. And speaking of conclusions, we're going to end this podcast now. This is episode 1. We kind of stumbled through it, folks. We really didn't have a...
We had a plan, but it wasn't a good plan.
It just, things happen. Spilling water, etc.
Yeah, I have to clean that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have... one thing I didn't really plan is where people can find me and stuff.
Yeah, so
I don't want them to come on my personal Facebook. My friends can be on there, and I will, they will hear about the podcast from me there. Where can people find you on Twitter, etc.?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter right now at xthodan, which is at xthodan. And you can find me there, and
that's the only social media you use, right?
Currently, yeah. There'll be more in the future, but for now, that's it. And
we'll figure out.
You can listen to me just...
Your Facebook profile is a fake.
It's not fake.
It's fake shit. Like, it's just like... It's just hilarious concept.
It's not accurate.
It's a hilarious concept based off a picture. If you're on my friends list, totally go looking for it. You'll find him.
Maybe.
But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up there, and
so hopefully see everybody next time, and
we will hopefully see you guys next time. Thanks for listening, and this will get better. It will progress like everything else in life. Have a good one, guys.